Third-party controllers for the Apple Vision Pro, a good idea or not necessary? This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by Notion. Work faster, write better, think bigger with Notion. Learn more at notion.com/MacVoices. This, I don't quite know if this is a rumor or exactly what, but I did want to bring it up, especially with Marty and Eric both here, that Apple is allegedly looking at bringing third-party controllers to the Apple Vision Pro to bring more games in. And I was really anxious to hear what your thoughts were on this, because I have some, and I want to hear what you guys think. Is this a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Is it necessary? And not just Marty and Eric, obviously, anybody who wants to throw in, but I'm looking at those two and Dave too, excuse me. I keep forgetting Dave spent money and got an Apple Vision Pro too. So,
yeah, but he didn't start a podcast, so he's just not.
But I do talk about it every week.
Well, he had a podcast already, so yeah.
I incorporated it into the podcast.
He didn't start a podcast specifically about Vision Pro, so is just
Eric. Why don't you start off?
Not fully committed.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because Marty and I were discussing this recently and decided neither one of us are gamers. It's like, however, so I have two feelings about this. On the one hand, not having controllers means that developers have had to put in a lot of work to get the mapping to hands to work correctly and to be fairly responsive. So it has resulted in the games and the interactions actually working as well as they can work without anything else. And that's a nice feature. On the other hand, when some more precise control is needed, or you need a few extra options, or you're doing something that covers up one of your hands with another one so the Vision Pro can't see you, a controller would solve that. Being able to just move games over and have the controls match what they would match on another system, that could be kind of nice. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Okay. Yeah, our episode last night was called "Can Sony Come Over and Play?" Because we talked quite a bit about this, and both of us not being gamers. One of the comments I had was, I can't wait to talk to Ben Rathig about this on MacVoices Live. And Ben's not with us. So it would be fun to hear his perspective because he's a gamer. You have been able, if you're following it, the PlayStation folks have been able to port over games using a standard controller and able to play those games. And they're showing videos of it on Reddit and things like that. This is about an AR VR controller that they use for Sony, and that being the crossover piece that will work very well with Apple Vision Pro. There are some Kickstarter developers who are developing handheld devices, controllers for use specifically with Apple Vision Pro. And those look like they're going to be in market soon, from what we can tell in terms of shipping dates and things like that from those folks. So it's not out of the question. This was a German rumor that started all of these articles off. And first, of course, it showed up on Power Up, and then it moved on to every other digital magazine about how Apple's going to do this with Sony. And one of the latest articles that was in Macworld that came out, and this all happened in like a 48-hour cycle, was the last one from Macworld talks about how this might be pointing to other types of relationships with other digital companies, not only for providing controllers, which gamers like to use, versus the clunkiness of using your hands to do stuff, that it could lead to other kinds of products coming in into that space. So it's exciting. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the rumor comes true.
Before we go on, I want to welcome Mark Fuccio in. He was able to join us. Mark, good to have you.
Hello, everyone. I'll pick up from context. I don't want to interrupt more than I have.
No problem. No problem. That is Notre Dame, right?
That is Notre Dame. Yes.
Nicely timed. I like it. So Eric and Webb, first of all, I am a notorious no gamer. So what I may say here may not make sense to you. It made sense to me. But if you're trying to develop sophisticated games anywhere, and including the Apple Vision Pro, we're talking AR, VR kind of things. Well, I've played with at trade shows I've put on or tried to adapt. You can't do everything that a game might want you to. Okay, I mean you can punch and you can maybe flick with a finger or two or something, but if you want to kick something, you really can't kick it, or I mean it's just not there. And I watch some of the kids play the games with characters jumping around and flying around and all, and I would have no idea how you would be able to accomplish that in a virtual world unless you were using virtual buttons or a virtual controller as opposed to a physical controller. So am I just completely off base and don't know what I'm talking about, which is quite probable, in saying that this would open up a lot better control for games within Apple Vision Pro?
I subscribe to the Groomer Mill, the Gurman newsletter I get on Sunday mornings, and there are a couple of things that he brought out as the, and I'm not saying what I'm about to say is true. It's just what I read, and the truth may be somewhere in the middle. But I do agree with Eric. I've never even tried an Apple Vision. I'm sorry, I just haven't tried it yet. So that makes me an expert. But I do agree that what Eric said is that there could be some games that need a lot finer control than what the hand sensors that the system has just can't accommodate or don't react fast enough. I could be wrong, but it seems to make sense to me. The other thing that was in the Gurman newsletter or article, email, whatever it is, was there were some people during the early development of Apple Vision that they talked about some sort of hand controller, and it was Johnny Ive and another executive who has since left, who was pretty much adamant against having a hand controller and sticking to the finger thing. So the other thing that Gurman said was that because it didn't have the hand controllers or some other sense of having finer control, it was very hard for game developers to buy into the platform. My opinion, and it's solely my opinion, I think the Apple Vision would have been a lot more successful, even at the price point that it's at, if it had more game development behind it. I've been wrong before, but and the world may never know. But I do wish that, or I do think that getting some big branded games for the Apple Vision would have definitely helped to be a lot more. If I say successful, that means, do I think it's a failure now? No, I don't think it's a failure. I think it's a technology exercise that will only get better and cheaper as time goes on. But I'll just leave it at that. So,
okay. Mark?
Okay, yeah. So I'm coming in the middle of this, so excuse me if somebody's already made this point, but I think the key benefit is a lot of gamers out there already use and know how to use the Sony paddles and controls. So this lowers the cost of adoption of Vision Pro because they can already use the devices to which they're accustomed. And I think in that regard, it's it's a really great move to see some sort of collaboration between these companies.
Interesting point. So since well, Dave, are you a gamer at all in the Vision Pro at this point?
No, and I've not been a gamer just like Marty and Eric. But I mean, I could see some potential future with the Vision Pro and gaming. If the controller is going to work the way they've been describing it, I think it could be a good interactive way of playing the games. I started playing with a couple of the games. I think was a Trip was the one I talked about last week. That's the sim game. It takes a little bit of navigation. I was playing around with it a little bit, and it's still hard to figure out with not being a gamer. But some of the big titles like Call of Duty and some of those first person shooters and stuff, I would be curious to see how the Vision Pro would actually be able to adapt to that. But it's got potential. I think they got a long way to go, but you got to influence these developers to even consider it, and that's the problem. I mean, you don't have a lot of developers that are committed to wanting to devote all this time and effort into the Vision Pro, and you don't have a huge audience with it right now.
I don't know where we go with this. I mean, obviously, we don't go anywhere. I guess Apple has to decide what they're going to do, and then the game developers have to. I sometimes wonder, though, if would you build a Call of Duty for the Apple Vision Pro, or would you be looking at using the unique characteristics of the Apple Vision Pro to create something completely new? I think it was
yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Marty.
Yeah, I see it as if Apple opens this up, Sony's got another market. And it's good for Sony. And in terms of having more traditional games on the platform, it's good for Apple.
Okay.
Right now, you can pick up an Apple Vision Pro, put it on, go through the quick demo, and fairly quickly interact, have it respond. You can pick things out, select things, move windows around, and you don't need any other controller or any other mechanism. Yeah, that's not applying it to games, but it, I think, has one of the fastest to pick up interfaces out there, and it works well. I wouldn't want to lose that. So I think it's a balance of trying to bring in some gaming elements and controllers at some point without losing the ability to have a fairly complete interface.
So
Eric,
why are you framing it as an either or? I mean, you're saying that I don't want to lose it. Why are you worried about that? Why are you not thinking that this is additional capability? And if people don't want to use it, they don't have to. But for the people who want, you can use the mechanism you're using, and all these other people, can use something that they're already familiar with.
Well, the question is, has it existed long enough for enough people to be comfortable with it that part of the interface will continue to exist? If all of a sudden the majority of the people buying the product are gamers and all they're concerned with is the controllers and games, then the other parts of the interface may no longer be relevant. And I wouldn't want to lose that just because the gaming part made it wildly successful and that took off. I think that loses some of the elements of what makes the Apple Vision Pro unique. Now, that being said, one of my favorite features is the Apple Virtual Display, and then I'm using a keyboard and a mouse. And if that isn't effectively a gaming controller for work, I don't know what is. And I wouldn't argue I wouldn't want that. It doesn't detract from any of the rest of the Vision Pro. In that sense, you're very right. It could coexist.
So I would comment that, maybe an analogy is, I think by doing this, Apple is opening it up, to broaden the market, opening up to other developers, who can, putting it, maybe overly simplified, they can use the Vision Pro as a new screen display device, and they can use, Sony controllers, as they, have traditionally done. But, I think it's sort of analogous to remember, for years and years and years about the iPad, they finally came out with a keyboard and, ability to plug in external storage and, ability to use a trackpad or a mouse, that, I see that as precedent that Apple has their vision and they're right, damn it, about how these devices should be used. But for all these other people, who want to use these other ways, they slowly, will bend and provide support, and the two go on in parallel.
But they also had the controllers for the Apple TV that they've come out with, as well as the iPad. So there are game controllers already available on the market to do it. Is it a good experience? The jury's out on it, because I've tried it. I've tried it on the Apple TV, and yeah, gaming in general, yeah, that's what they're trying to appeal to what an Apple TV does, but and has, but I don't see it as of a good experience as it would be, let's say, with like a PlayStation or any gaming console. I think about spin it back here too, but what about Meta with all their glasses, where there had been some kind of interaction, like you were saying, Eric, with moving your hands and playing the games and those kind of things. I don't think it's the game titles that everybody's attracted to, like I mentioned earlier, but it's there. I think it's just trying to get these developers to be appealed to what Apple's doing. Apple has to keep pushing on this.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Notion. Work faster, write better, think bigger with Notion. Learn more at notion.com/MacVoices. One of the definitions of stupidity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Okay, there are other definitions, but that's for another time. It's 2025, and you need to do something different to best the competition. You need Notion. The fully integrated Notion AI helps you work faster, write better, and think bigger, doing tasks that normally take you hours in just seconds. Notion combines your notes, docs, and projects into one space that's simple and beautifully designed. Are you thinking that this is the year you really need to get into AI? Notion has the power of AI built right in, so there's no need to jump from tool to tool. That means your first draft can be created for you, or that your messy, disorganized notes can suddenly be organized and polished. If over half of the Fortune 500 companies are using Notion to get more done, isn't it time you signed up? Try Notion for free when you go to notion.com/MacVoices. That's all lowercase letters, notion.com/MacVoices, to try the powerful, easy-to-use Notion AI today. And when you use my link, you're supporting MacVoices. Notion.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Notion for supporting today's MacVoices. I wish Jeff Gamet were here, because Mark, you started down a road and I thought you were going to get there and didn't, so I'll go there. But for so long, we only had a touch interface for the iPad. Then came the Apple Pencil, and to Eric's concern, we didn't lose anything by having the Apple Pencil. We gained a lot. We gained a lot of more of fine-grained control and a lot of different options that you really didn't have that same kind of control with the iPad's native interface. Now, is part of that because artists like Jeff are familiar with using a pen or pencil type instrument, and would, if they had grown up using that kind of just the finger interface, that they would have developed adequate skills, or would the software have developed in a different fashion? So part of me says that this is playing to an existing audience versus pushing the front edge, but maybe that's what you have to do to make sure the device is enough of a success to keep on going and evolving.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, again, nothing we can do about it, but it's just, I when I saw this morning or yesterday, whenever I saw it, is like, really? That's interesting, because that's always been one of the big things that you didn't have to have some of this. Just, again, like echoing the iPad and even the phone. Steve Jobs notoriously chastised the phone developers for requiring a pen or pencil type device until he didn't. So.
Well, Chuck, if you're thinking about that, there's a balancing act, right? When you introduce a new product, or a brand new category of product, you want to focus on its unique benefits and what problems it solves. Over the fullness of time, to continue to grow, out of the people who buy it, the early adopters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You need to broaden it and provide more entry ramps. And I think that's what Apple is doing here. And I'm frankly surprised this has been a long discussion. I thought, oh yeah, they're adding more support, and let's move on to the next story. But I guess there's a lot of consideration, and again, not owning a Vision Pro, maybe that's why I think, okay, great, next story. But as far as what it does with the device, we'll have to see. And I'm with Webb. Even though it was an Apple store last week, I picked up a new thing I purchased, but I didn't schedule an appointment to get an Vision Pro demo. But there were 3 people who were getting them while I was there in the main Apple store at their headquarters here in Cupertino, right across from the Steve Jobs Theater.
I want to go back and be an advocate for getting the demo. I mean, at the very least, it will give you a more of an appreciation of maybe what we're talking about and why we're not wrestling with the question, but discussing the question, because it is a phenomenal piece of hardware. The experience is amazing. I'm the one that's holding out mainly because I'm not ready to invest the money that I could put into a machine that I know how to use and that I can get a lot of things done with, in favor of investing in an Apple Vision Pro and searching for the way to do it. Now, Eric has shown me a couple things with the virtual displays that are extremely intriguing and desirable for what I do. But that's for what I do. I couldn't care less about games, except for the fact that games do drive the tech industry in some fashion. And
so, are you having a show next week? MacVoices Live next Tuesday?
We're trying. Yeah, probably so, Mark. Which we still are trying to work out exactly the schedule, but I would think we would. Yes.
Okay, so I'll try to go get a demo of the Vision Pro before then, and we can pick up this discussion or this part of the discussion next week.
Good. It would be interesting.
Webb, are you on board?
Are you?
Can you do it too?
I wish I could say I had the time between now and next Tuesday, but I can tell you my weekend is booked. So I got a birthday party for my grandson and another birthday party that has lots of libations around it. So
you can
buy. You might buy one or two.
Yeah, you can buy one, and I was reading today that they're extending the return to January 8th, so you can play with it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have nothing else to do, Webb, but to play with the Vision Pro.
Right. Even if you have it at home, you're going to have time to do it.
Yeah. Hey, Webb, it will humble you.
But
and seriously, and all joking aside, I know it is a fabulous technology. I know they've done some amazing things with it. I still haven't, and I listen to you guys, Eric and Marty, and I'm sorry, I just haven't found that compelling reason to buy it. I just haven't yet. The virtual monitors is kind of interesting, but I'll just leave it at that. I know it's fabulous,
I'm not sure I would say buy it now. I would say the demo is worth it. It would be nice. Yeah, I don't think that the 2.2 version is coming out. Well, who knows when that'll be out. So it might not be in time for Mark's demo. But I think it's worth getting the demo just because it's a technology preview. It's an opportunity to step into Apple's design labs and actually get to see an unreleased product, even though it is technically released. Because the real one
I think you said it perfectly correctly. It is an unreleased product.
Because the real one is in the future. But no one would build for it if they could never see it. And so there are a bunch of really early adopter people that really need to get their hands on it and experience it. There's some people where it does what it needs to do enough for what they do that getting it now, like Chuck, would be worth it. Others, it's just a matter of go in and see the demo and then wait for the M5 version to come out or far future glasses to come out. That's fine. But it would be a shame to miss the opportunity to see the neat tech demo. It's like going to a tech conference, but you can schedule it, and it takes just a small amount of time.
20, 30 minutes.
Good, Eric. Good pitch. Good pitch.
Yeah. I agree. And Cletus is giving me a hard time in the chat room. Yeah. Thanks, Cletus. I want it. Don't misunderstand. I came away very enthused about it. I just need to figure out, how it's going to benefit me. And Eric, if I remember correctly, you were an early adopter along with a couple other partners in buying it, so that helped the financial part of it. But you had specific use cases, and now you have evolved into experimenting with a lot of the other things. But the use cases you came up with, help me out if I'm incorrect, but you were really interested in panoramas, in the 3D movies, and just the movie viewing experience inside. And now you're way beyond that.
Yeah, the Mac Virtual Display, that was just an added bonus that makes it actually worthwhile from a work standpoint. Like, I could get really close to actually justifying it as a work purchase. The panoramic viewing, I just don't know another way to view panoramic images as if you are standing in the spot where you took them. There isn't anything else out there that does it, and it lets you see if you got the picture correctly, if the resolution is good enough, if the orientation and everything is set up correctly. And eventually I want to do one of those kind of walkthrough games where you can skip from spot to spot and you're in like an immersive cylinder, and it's the perfect preview hardware to let me map all of that out. There just is not another good way to do it.
I was going to say the immersive videos are game changing too. I mean, when I watched those videos for the first time, I was just wow, I was blown away. I mean, right now there isn't a ton of titles out there, but if you having the iPhone 16 Pro or Pro Max, being able to take spatial videos, I haven't dabbled in that enough to do it, but I need to just to get that experience of if I went and visited someplace, I want to have the experience of being able to visit it again and be in that spatial experience. But so far, the number of immersive videos that have been released, in the public domain, have been amazing. I must say.
The fact that we haven't seen more of those.
Yeah.
The fact that we haven't seen more of an implementation in the sports world, I think really speaks to the fact that everybody is learning.
Yes.
The developers are learning, the videographers are learning, the broadcasters who want to use this device. I mean, this can be an amazing boon for the sports industry.
Yeah.
They just got to figure out how. And once that happens, then maybe Webb could be riding on Patrick Mahomes' shoulder.
I mean,
He metaphorically already
race
is.
car.
Race car.
I'm
Okay.
looking for the racing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was active for a while. Webb, F1 was part of it, and then the app that did that kind of got pulled back because they were using content they didn't have license to use in some cases. But the demos were pretty tremendous. I just want to comment on the spatial video. This is turning into vision profiles. But one comment on the spatial video and what they're doing. David said they haven't released a lot, but if you look at what they've released, each one is a different approach to using spatial video. Right. So the submerged movie, which is the submarine flooding experience, it's you're in the set movie kind of experience, and it's shot from the point of view of being in the movie. if in that movie. Then you have artists like Ariana Grande, and the most recent Weekend is shot more of a sort of visual, a cinematographer sort of thing. And then they had one Show for One or whatever it is that came out, where you're standing right up next to the artist while the artist is singing. So, and then you have the other immersive videos where you're on a high wire, you're getting elephants walk around you. They all kind of have a different point of view. So what they're doing with these releases, I think, is they're exciting cinematographers in different ways to say, oh, I can do that with this.
Right. Just to go back to the sports, I mean, the NBA was one of the first sports leagues that actually did it right with the app, because when you watch, I mean, I watch. I don't pay for that, so I'm not a huge NBA fan, but the videos watching the games, and it really made you feel like you were on the court. I mean, I think the NBA really did a great job with it. I'd love to see the other sports leagues do the same thing. Once the NFL gets on this, I mean, my gosh, it's going to be a huge game changer. But I think they're just kind of being cautious with that, because that's quite an investment to do a lot of stuff. They're already doing a lot of the technologies as we watch games every week in the NFL, for instance, the way the camera angles and how you're able to immerse and be able to watch a game now. But I think that we have nothing but great future ahead with the sporting events and the sports network and the sports leagues.
How many of you have been to the Sphere in Las Vegas?
Yep.
I've been around the outside, but not inside.
I actually saw you too. So
okay, so Dave and I have, and I feel like there's a comparison here. You guys know I love analogies, but I feel like there's a comparison here. It is an incredible space for things that are created for it. Otherwise, it's not bad. It's clearly not taking advantage of it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's another situation where the creators have to learn how to best leverage it. Mm-hmm. Some of the original content for the Sphere is absolutely phenomenal, because you feel like you are there, not quite the Vision Pro there, but there enough. And yet there are other things that are just like, okay, it's a big screen.
Yeah, so. But I mean, the experience in the Sphere was just mind blowing. I got to just viewing down at on the main floor, because that's where you got the best experience, by looking up and seeing the videos and having the immersive experience. You two did an amazing job with their show and putting together the videos and all the background experience. That you really it made you feel life like you're there, lifelike. And I wasn't sitting that close, so it was just an amazing experience. Just being far back, and I was taking pictures with my iPhone 16 Pro Max, and got just amazing sequences and recording videos, doing spatial videos, and you were able to capture exactly what the experience was. But yeah, it's a thing to see, and I know they do tours besides just having concerts and other events there too.
Yeah.
Okay,
we've got another
my demo for Monday at 10 a.m.
Great.
He's on it.
Yes.
Bring your checkbook, Mark.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if I were to do it, it would be with this.
Yeah. It'll be on
I just bought 2 iPhone 16 Pro Maxes, so I'm not in the market for for a Night Vision Pro.
You haven't put it on yet.
Well, you should talk, Chuck.
I know.
You know what? One of the problems that I have with buying an Apple Vision Pro is that I'm going to have to buy 2 of them, because my wife's going to want one if I come home with one. So there's $7,000 right there. So
yeah, I like the idea of a his and her Vision Pro family. Yeah. That works. That works. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.